So how does one convert the to-be process into the SAP solution? Now, if we were to say, you just need to do some config work plus some development, and then you would have an SAP solution, that is incorrect. What is missing to make the SAP solution is what we call the process flow, right? Which is, how does the documents move through SAP, prompting users to do action and to update SAP, right? To understand this concept of process flow with the config, let's have a look at a process without SAP. Let's imagine that we don't have an SAP system at all. Now, the customer rings up customer service and says, I want to order a particular material with a particular quantity on a particular date. So customer service will create the sales order, and she'll put the material and the quantity, and she'll put the price. Yeah, she'll confirm all of this with the customer. Yeah, and she will then create a sales order. So now she's creating a document, right? And after she has created it, she puts it in a little pigeonhole in the mailroom. This means what she's actually doing is her flow. She's taking the data from the customer, she's updating it, and in effect, she's pushing it to this central location, the mailroom. She's also, by creating the document, she's also pushing it, right, into the mailroom for a particular status. And what happens is, let's say every day, the warehouse worker at 4 o'clock will go to the mailroom, and he will collect all of the sales orders that are in here, which means that they are ready to be processed. He would then create a delivery note based on the information on the sales order, and then he would then take it down to the warehouse in order to get picked and shipped to the customer. He would then take the delivery note and the sales order. He would mark it as complete, and he will put it in another section in the mailroom. So they have the sales order, have the delivery note, and on top of it is complete. So the next day, the accountant will actually come, and they are now pulling, as you can see, they are pulling data from the mailroom to say, show me a delivery note that is marked as complete. They will put that, and they would then create an invoice, which they would then post it to the customer. See? So this process still flows. It is moved through the system, and each time someone does something, they update the document and puts it back ready for the next person to find it. Now assume the process is now the same for SAP. Now, based on our to-be processes that we see, the customer will send their order into SAP either manually, or in this case, let's assume it's by EDI. So it goes into SAP where it's validated. And if everything is okay, there is two possible outcomes. So you could have a sales order that is okay, or a sales order, sorry about this, but sales order is incomplete. So we have now a sales order with two that could be in two different statuses. If the sales order is incomplete at every periodical time, customer service will query, i.e. they will pull data. They will say, show me all the sales orders that are incomplete for correction. And that's it. The sales orders that are complete, our logistics worker on a particular time will say, show me all the sales orders that are marked as okay and can be delivered today. SAP will then create a delivery with all the information, and that is sent to the warehouse to be picked. So the warehouse now, based on the delivery, will carry out the actions of picking and shipping. and this is sent to the customer. Once it is shipped, the delivery is updated, it's being complete, and i.e. what we're doing is we're pushing back into SAP, yeah, that this delivery is complete, yeah. And what SAP will now do is to say, I will create an invoice ready to be emailed to the customer. Any errors, yeah, will be, the invoice will be placed in error, right? And the accountant will pull data, right? And say, show me only invoices in error for correction, and then give me process. So a process flow coupled with SAP configuration, yeah, and SAP development all come together to make the SAP process. So now that we understand the concept of what we call a flow, the flow of information from one status to another, and how people need to action it, we now need to have a look at the to-be processes that we previously had, and then put A, some SAP configuration behind it, and B, how they're going to be executed in SAP. So for example, via EDI here, so we can say, okay, I know that this is an interface, yeah, with the development, and manual that we can then say, okay, this sales order must have document type, for example, and then we configure the sales area. We also have to put here how. So we are saying, we created by transaction VA01. This is how we create the sales order, right? And the configuration here drives the validation and also drives if we are not to trigger ATP. Once the sales order is saved, we have a status and we have the document, the sales order. Now here, the delivery. Now we have to be able to say again how. So we say we use the transaction VL, let's say 10A, which is a mass creation. And the process is also when. And we say, okay, so we have agreed with the business, we are always going to create a delivery at 4 p.m. Yeah. So as we can see here, the to-be processes, as we are going through them, as we're saying this is how they're going to be done in SAP, yeah, we put a little bit what we call meat on the bone. We put the transaction details here. We say what document type we are expecting, for example, etc. And we put in any notes that are relevant. Yeah. Again, as we also here, as we go through, we know that, okay, this is while this is a gap, it's something that SAP can do. We say for the purpose of our build, we will do this manually, for example. Yeah, and this will use standard SAP. Right? As we have seen before, we'll be actually prototyping this and showing this to the user. So sometimes we just say to the users, you know, for this development, I will develop this later. Just pretend that the functionality is working. Yeah. So that is actually how you convert the to-be process to an SAP process flow. Yeah. Adding all the configuration, adding the flow, i.e. how it moves through the system, adding the transaction, adding any other details that will show the users how, when to use the system.